I am so excited. You are behind the scenes right now as we get ready to, this is our first time creating our own quick, anti-inflammatory, delicious, simple cooking show is what we're doing. And so, yeah, so we're behind the scenes right now. You guys are showing up for the first few minutes while my amazing videographer, Amy Schlinger, is going to be videoing. So as you hop on, hi, Carrie, so excited to see you. We're gonna be making ginger molasses cookies, anti-inflammatory style. So we're gonna do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and we will officially begin. This is gonna be live streamed right now on Facebook Live. It'll be live streamed on Insta TV. So if any of you are on Insta TV, drop your link below so I can come find you. And in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna be creating a Jenny Carr Health YouTube channel, which I'm super excited. Again, the goal is to have super quick, like 10 to 15 minutes or less, anti-inflammatory recipes. Many of them are comfort type foods that are delicious and give you health. All right, sister, Amy.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
All right.
3, 2, 1, action. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Jenny Carr. I am the founder of Jenny Carr Health and the author of the international best-selling book, Piece of Cake, The Secret to an Anti-Inflammatory Diet. You guys, I survived a near-death experience largely due to maintaining anti-inflammatory eating, and it has become my passion to figure out how to do that in a way that doesn't make us feel overwhelmed and doesn't make us feel deprived. Because as I like to say, you can have your cake and eat it too, anti-inflammatory style. So if you just joined us, we are here, we're streaming live on Facebook at Jenny Carr Health. This will be on Insta TV, on YouTube under the Jenny Carr Health channel. And I'm just thrilled every week we're gonna be bringing you more content, 1 or 2 really quick, super simple recipes, 10 or 15 minutes typically or less, often comfort foods that we wish we could have when we were maintaining anti-inflammatory eating. However, we can do it by swapping out these top 6 inflammatory foods. So the top 6 inflammatory foods are processed sugar, wheat, cow dairy, inflammatory oils like vegetable oil, canola oils, genetically modified foods, and number 6 is alcohol. So today we're gonna make ginger molasses cookies because it is holiday season, right? And I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, so we've been making a lot of Christmas cookies. This is one of my favorites. It's super simple. It's grain-free, it's paleo, there's no eggs, which often a lot of my recipes have eggs. And so I'm gonna walk you guys through the recipe. You can get the recipe in my book, and you can actually get the free download of that at jennycarrhealth.com, www.jennycarr, Jennycarr health.com. You'll find that in the links below. Okay, so let's do this, you guys. Ginger molasses cookies. Instead of using the traditional wheat flour that has so many inflammatory options, we are going to use almond flour. You can buy almond flour anywhere, but I just want to show you. This is what it looks like if you're unfamiliar with it. This is one of the many companies you can buy it from. Bob's Red Mill is really consistent. And this recipe calls for 1.5 cups. So 1.5 cups of almond flour. What I love about many of my recipes is that the recipes are simple, they're quick, they're not something you're gonna mess up. This recipe in particular, you can dump everything together. You don't have to separate the wet ingredients from the dry ingredients or mix any fancy way. You can just go for it, which also makes it a great recipe to do with your kids, right? There's no eggs, they can dig in with their hands and mix things up. So again, to start as the almond flour, we have, it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This is, you guys, this is how real we can get. I didn't have baking soda, I just realized right before our shoot. So I'm using baking powder. Will it be exactly the same? No. But for many of these ingredients, you can kind of swap things out and have a lot of fun with it without stressing out. So we're doing a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And this is sea salt. So regular sodium table salt does cause inflammatory response in the body. So using sea salt, which you can find in basically all grocery stores, is a great option. Next, we've got ginger, because of course the ginger molasses, 2 teaspoons of ginger. There's a lot of different brands. Any sort of root vegetable, it's important to get organic. The reason is because roots, if they're not organic, if you can imagine, they actually will sit, there's 2 teaspoons. So if you can imagine the root, it will end up kind of sitting in this pool of toxins and herbicides, pesticides. And so that will then, they'll absorb a lot of pesticides. So we think root vegetable, not important to get organic, but actually it is. So grab yourself some organic ginger. Is this it? Oh, 3 more ingredients. Some molasses, organic maple syrup. You guys, maple syrup is an amazing swap for processed sugar. So processed sugar, there's over 50 names of processed sugar, and you want to swap them out for things like pure maple syrup, raw honey, unrefined coconut sugar, stevia or monk fruit. Blackstrap molasses works really well. And so this is where we're getting our sweeteners from here in these cookies. So maple syrup, we'll do half a cup of maple syrup. And you guys like, oh, nothing better than that rich maple flavor when it comes to a sweetener, especially in baking, cookies, cakes, muffins. Maple syrup is my standard go-to. And then for the blackstrap molasses, our second to last ingredient. Oh, there's a lid on this. Look at that. Grab a knife. So the blackstrap molasses, you guys, is you don't need very much, and it gives you that really rich flavor. And of course, is a key ingredient. Something I've found to be really interesting when I make these. Whoa, look how pretty that is. Okay, isn't that fun? Like, it's almost like you can paint with it, which the kids love to do when you are, those of you on Facebook Live, you can't see this right now, but let me see if I can turn the thing. It's like painting. The kids love this recipe, you guys. So I don't know if you can see. It's like drizzling yummy goodness. What I was saying is, one of the things about blackstrap molasses, depending on the different brands that you buy, sometimes the colors of the cookies will vary slightly. But again, that's really just not very important. And then the last thing, instead of using traditional lard or butter, we are sticking with unrefined coconut oil. So virgin coconut oil, you can buy, coconut oil companies are starting to sell refined coconut oil. You want to make sure you stay away from that. So virgin or extra virgin cold pressed coconut oil is great. Coconuts, fun fact, actually are becoming more genetically modified, which is super sad. So whenever I buy coconut oil, I always try to make sure that you can find the certified non-GMO label. So this just calls for 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. That's our replacement for the lard or the butter. Crisco, those things that have so many inflammatory components. And then you just mix it up. There's nothing fancy about this. It turns into this like tan and then darker, really kind of rich, beautiful texture. Can you guys see? That's it. It's so simple. There is nothing difficult about this whatsoever. And actually, I'm going to add, because typically this, it looks a little bit runny for what I prefer. So you guys, this is how I do it in the kitchen. Nothing precise. You're going to ultimately be wanting to take these and you're going to roll them into a little ball. So if you feel uncomfortable and you're like, oh, I like to follow recipes exactly so I don't mess them up, as you're experimenting with these new ways of anti-inflammatory eating, just have fun with playing around with it to see what happens. And don't be afraid to swap things out to really play with them. So now that we have our dough, right, we are going to move these bowls out of the way. We're going to use a spoon to make little cookies. And kids, of course, love doing this as well. So I like to take a tablespoon or so. Always make sure you wash your hands before doing this, right? Before you start cooking. And you're just going to kind of plop it onto, plop it onto the cookie sheet. These don't expand a ton, but they will some. So I like to do the standard, 3 cookies across, 4 cookies long. These don't stick very much because the almond flour is the replacement for the regular flour. It gives a lot of extra fat, which makes it so they're not very sticky. But generally speaking, when you are doing kind of anti-inflammatory cooking, a general rule of thumb is to put some wax paper or parchment paper on the cookie sheet, or if you're making bread in the bread tin, whatever it may be, so that they do not stick too much. If you use coconut flour, which is another really common flour that we'll use in cooking with these kind of anti-inflammatory versions of deliciousness, then that does tend to stick a little bit more. So I'm just gonna wash my hands really quick, and voila, we have our cookies. So we wanna bake this at 350 for 8 to 10 minutes, and interestingly enough, again, this is just what happens sometimes, you guys, when we're playing with these different types of foods, these different types of ingredients. Sometimes it needs a little bit more time, a little bit less. You will find that this anti-inflammatory type of eating does often, because there's no gluten in there, it's not as light and fluffy, although there are some amazing recipes like my fluffy sandwich bread that we'll make, but often it's not so fluffy. It's a little bit more dense, deliciously moist, amazing amazingness. And so because of that density with the nut flours, or the eggs that are really common that you'll find in these, or the healthy fats, sometimes it needs a little bit of adjustment in cooking slightly longer than what you're used to, especially if you're at higher or lower elevation. So I do have another amazing batch already in the oven. So I wanted to show you guys the finished result. You cook this at 350 for 8 to 10 minutes, so really, really short time to cook. Let me grab my hot pad here, and let's see. Oh yeah, these look incredible. So here we are with the finished product. Really delicious, amazing cookies. Now, you guys, what's fun for the holidays is that you can go onto Amazon or online, wherever, stop at maybe the dollar store or local Kmart. You can buy these little bags with the clear plastic center. And we found these stickers that said handmade with love, a picture of my son, and the ingredients. And so we've made these fun little gifts for people for the holidays. So traditionally, a lot of times people will make plates of cookies and bring those to neighbors or to friends and family as gifts. What an amazing gift to create these anti-inflammatory, delicious, healthy cookies. It's something that's super unique, special, and I like to always say, be the change you wish to see in the world. Show up for yourself, take care of yourself, enjoy these, make these for yourself, and spread the love, because that is what it's all about. So you guys, thank you so much. I am thinking we were under 10 minutes or right around. That was a lot of fun, and stay tuned. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to be making some anti-inflammatory hot chocolate. Love you all. Have a great day.